Hello everyone. Hey, welcome to the Virginia Bushcrafter, the channel where we continue to learn and practice the skills of bushcrafting, prepping, and survival. So today, guys, I am just out on a bit over a 3-mile walk just to get some exercise, enjoy Mother Nature, and just do some exploring with water. So I see my first bit of water down in this area, which it looks very brownish or reddish, and that's basically known as turbidity, which is basically tannins from leaves, bark that enter into the river. So let's take a walk down here and just take a look at this water. Yeah, guys, as you can see here, this is part of the Rappahannock River, and if you notice this water, the coloration of this water, it is because of all of the wood and leaves that is in the water, and this makes this water turn to a reddish or a brownish color. And if you were to source this water, it would require extensive filtration. Now, if you look, here is a waterfall. If you notice, the water is very turbulent. That is something that is good, because when water is very turbulent, that means that it is flowing downstream at a certain speed, and what it's doing is aerating the water. More or less, it aerates the water so that the water becomes oxygenated, and when water becomes oxygenated, it somewhat flushes the bacteria, contaminants, and pollutants downstream. So again, guys, this is a river. The water is sourceable. You could actually filter this extensively, and it would require some great purifying before it's consumed. And when you purify this particular body of water, I would say filter it using a bandana or a mini Sawyer, a Sawyer mini, then run it through a grill, boil it, and even then you may want to use aqua tablets. So guys, I'm just going to keep walking. And one thing about bushcrafters or bushcrafting, we look for things that normal people do not. If you look over there, you can see there's a nice great waterfall. That waterfall, you can see it is very clear. And that's another thing about waterfalls. That is more or less something that's known as a laminar, which is a slow moving stream of water or something of that nature. But again, when it runs over those rocks, it's being oxygenated again, which is providing the water with air. And again, that is basically just pushing bacteria, contamination, and pollutants downstream. So let's head on and take a look. This is the area that you really have to be careful because of snakes that can blend in very well with Mother Nature. Guys, as you can see here on the Rappahannock River, this water is moving at a very brisk pace. And again, if you notice how the water is not more or less capturing, I guess that's the word, I'm not sure, but this water is being oxygenated. It's moving very fast, and the color of this water is because of leaves, bark, and other pieces of wood that's in the water, and this is known as tannins. Now guys, this water is drinkable, but again, this is water that must be filtered and purified. Filtered through using a coffee filter, a bandana, shamag, Sawyer Mini, live straw. There are many ways to filter the water, but the most important thing is to purify this water. Again, grill, boiling the water, and aqua tablets. But with the water moving like this, it's being oxygenated. Guys, as you can see, there are always rules that must be followed. Guys, this is some serious moving slash falling water. Yeah guys, I'm just on an exploration to just talk about water or sourcing water. Now, we've heard many times that we can go 3 days without water. Well, let's really seriously think about that, because let's say on a Monday you run out of water. That 3-day period starts from the minute that you run out of water. So if you're out of water the first day, you're not going to feel better the second day, and definitely not the third day. So the first thing we must remember is that our body can only go as far as our water supply. And if we're in the wilderness, we then have to turn to moving or falling water. There's also something called slack water or non-moving water, and there's also something called stagnant water. So I'll talk about those as I come along to that. But guys, when we say source water, I think it's important that we really have a meaning of what sourcing water is and how to source water. Again, there are only 3 types: moving slash falling water, slack water, or little to non-movement, and there's also stagnant water. Hey guys, you may notice here in this section of water there is a lot of mosquitoes. There can be mosquitoes, tadpoles, and so forth. Before sourcing water, you want to look for these type of things and probably move on, because they are stopping the flow of water, which reduces the oxygen to the water. So this is a lot of times where the mosquitoes are coming to this edge. This becomes really, this could be considered stagnant water. Well, more or less slack water. Has to do with the tide, the flow of the water in, out. But when you see these type of mosquitoes, tadpoles, and so forth, this is the type of water that you want it to be your last resort to even think about sourcing. This water isn't usually this brown or reddish, but we've been getting a lot of rain for the last week or so. And this is what is helping to cause the coloration of this water. Hey guys, if you look at this water here, if you can see it, you can see that it is moving rather well. It is flowing very well. But one thing we must consider is the environment of where we source our water from. I would not source this water here because let's look at the environment. It's right next to a street, a main street. And when it rains, what happens? Oil runs off. So you have to be cognizant. Just look here. See, there's water that's running. But you have to be cognizant of the environment in which you are sourcing your water from. Hey guys, again, as a bushcrafter, we look for things that people usually don't. Now, if we needed shelter and we were in this area, there is a place that has many canoes. I don't want to go too far because that is private property. But those canoes can be used as shelter by standing them up on the side at a 45 to 40 degree angle, propping them up with some sticks from Mother Nature, and you have a shelter. So again, as bushcrafters, we look for things that a lot of people just don't look for. We're always looking for, again, cover, water, fire, food, navigation, first aid, and so forth. All right, guys, let's trek on. As you can see, this is the mile markers on the trail. This is the beginning and ending of a 3.25 mile path. So I've started earlier somewhere maybe 0.7 miles before, but this is the mile marker. By completing this loop, you are actually going to do 3.25 miles. All right, guys, again, as a bushcrafter, we are always noticing things that a lot of people don't. Just being under this bridge, could it be a safe place of shelter? It could be, depending on the situation. You're covered above, you're somewhat almost enclosed. You do have access to water, but this water is of question. Because again, I would consider this slack water, or more so it could be stagnated water. Again, look at stagnation water. It doesn't move at all. It doesn't have any movement. It holds mosquitoes, tadpoles, great place for bacteria to form, contaminate pollutants. This water It is not completely stagnant, but it is more or less at the very end of slack water, which again, slack water is very, very little or non-movement. But you can see there is vegetation that actually grows in this water. Again, I would consider this the end of slack water and the beginning of stagnant water. And again, this can be a shelter if warranted. Again, on this trail, we have found water, we have found shelter, and there is foraging that can be had here. If you notice, berries, so guys, this is basically a learning process. Again, come out into your local neighborhood, learn the plants, the animals, water sources. It's always good to know. Here you can hear the water. If you notice, that water is running downstream. That water is running downstream. I think that is safe water. Just filter it, and you possibly could drink it from there if you had to. Guys, even if you had to make a shelter and you did not have a tarp, a tent, or a hammock, there's still ways to make a shelter to keep you covered and out of harsh weather. There are many places to make a shelter here. Mother Nature provides you with everything you need. All you need is wood and your hands, and you can make a shelter. There's a lot of greenery. There's hardwood. So if needed in an emergency, you could make a shelter from Mother Nature in this area. Also, knowing entrances and exit ways to get into an area and out, knowing where the patterns are, escape areas, entrance areas. If you want to be hidden, you could always walk in the bush along the main walkway. If you're walking parallel and don't want to be seen, you can do that upon entrance and exiting. Guys, when you are walking on a trail or exploring, always notice fire starting materials. Great fire starting materials here. Again, guys, knowing your area, knowing major routes, entrances, and exit areas. So here again, on a major highway just above us, we're now going underneath a bridge that can be used as a survival shelter. The shelter will actually help keep wind away. It will keep you out of the cold. It will keep you out of the rain. But if need be, this is a shelter. Here's water. That would be my last resort to source. But again, being familiar with emergency shelters in your area. On your chosen path, find out where fishing locations are. Knowing an area where it is safe to fish is of great benefits. Hey guys, well, here is another body of water that I would consider to be stagnant, even though it is more or less slack water, little or no movement. And again, evaluate your water. Let's look at the environment of this water. What's above it? A bridge, which means there is probably chemicals or oil in this water. Again, always consider the environment that you are sourcing your water from. Slack water, little or no movement. Hey guys, another area to bed down if you truly had to. Again, a bridge to cover you, path, and walls. Again, another area for shelter. Again, as a bushcrafter, we are always looking for things that the normal person does not. All right guys, this is where we end our 3.25 mile walk with some beautiful flowers. Hey guys, this has been a fun walk. Again, the purpose of this walk is just to walk and smell the roses, explore major exits and entrances. It's always good to get out in your neighborhood, walk areas, know where water is, know how to evaluate that water, know where to source the water, knowing the difference between the three sources, which are, again, moving slash falling, moving slash falling water, slack water, and stagnation water. But guys, stay tuned for more upcoming videos where I'm going to be talking about or stressing the importance of water. Again, water is something that our body needs. We can only go as far as our water supply allows us to go. So we have to be able to source water. And again, we must know how to evaluate the water, knowing what the W, the A, the T, the E, and the R stands for, which is W stands for wiggles, making sure there is not a lot of mosquitoes or tadpoles. A is going to be for animals. If you see animal tracks, you know the water is viable, but it also could be contaminant. T is for turbidity, knowing the coloration of the water, knowing that there are tannins in the water because of its color. E is going to be for the environment. Where is that water located? Is it anywhere near an industrial park, an oil gas station, a road with a lot of oil? And lastly, the environment. The runoff. If it's a low metal, if you're in a low metal, water's running, hey, that's probably good water. And I'm sure it's better than water that's coming from a steep hill. So guys, again, knowing where you can find shelter during your walk, knowing where you can forage, all of those things are important. So with that, guys, hey, stay tuned for an upcoming video, again, on water and shelter. Most important things for survival. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you next time. This is the Virginia Bushcrafter signing off. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.